Jesus!
Okay, guys, we just saw Pompeii. Check it out. It's like totally dark now.
Aaron, do the thing.
There.
Not that thing.
Sorry, I don't know what you mean when you say do the thing.
Hagan's hiding in the back.
This review is going to be less a vlog and more a list of hilarious things this film that was inaccurate.
Just some context. She knows a lot about history. She knows a lot about history. I know a lot about history.
And volcanology.
Yeah, it's
Well,
kind of
me.
So, where do we start?
Well, where do we-
Volcanoes don't work like that, and that's not how Pompeii went off.
okay,
The only thing that went right was when the pyrastic cloud went off at the end.
that didn't go right. Parasitic clouds can travel up to nearly Mach 1.
Yes, I
That
know.
one was going about 10 miles an hour.
What happened was, if you
No, that
watch
was going like
this,
300 miles an hour.
at the end, whenever the mountain collapses in on itself and the cloud goes down, that's how it happened in the evening. So a lot of people were basically killed in their beds.
In their
fucking.
beds, fucking, baking bread for the morning. There's literally people there who are like, I'm doing my oh shit, I'm frozen forever doing the standard task. Not Pompeii. The Pompeii that we've excavated right now, huge chunks of it are still standing. Fair enough, the excavations and visitations have actually destroyed quite a lot of it.
Yeah.
But
fucking
there's
tourists.
still chunks of it standing. In this film, there were great explosions of nuclear missiles of fire falling on the city, knocking everything over.
Yeah, that didn't happen. The mountain just collapsed in on itself.
The
Also, that's not how tsunamis work. If there was a tsunami caused by this, it would have hit Sicily.
Yeah, when people were drowned, exploded, stabbed, crushed.
And 4 people in the movie were killed by the ash.
Yeah, Ash killed more people in The Evil Dead.
Okay, so we have this Celt who was killed in...
A Celt who's black-haired.
No, we have Jon Snow.
Yes, we have Jon Snow, called Marco, who was from Northern Britain.
Is it not Milo?
Yes, Milo. Sorry, Milo Polo, not Marco Polo.
Yeah. Once a crew, always a crew. He wore black
Okay,
through his entire
he was
thing.
taking part in a rebellion in Northern Britannia.
He was a child in the camp.
I know, but he was in there. And this is just basically my rough knowledge. I'm assuming they're talking about Boudica's rebellion, but that happened in the south of England, which isn't north of anywhere.
Okay, so in 75 AD, Milo watched this Roman general slaughter his family and escaped, and then was captured by some other Romans and put into slavery.
And then it's like he's on the Wheel of Pain or something, but he doesn't turn out as Arnie. He turns out as like a B-grade Game of Thrones actor.
Can I push the wheel now? No!
But in this being captured and put into slavery, he's an expert master horseman. He's somehow
He's obviously the horse whisperer.
he's some sort of rag with horses, which
He's an expert with horses. Now the tribe he came from were horsemen. However, this is the equivalent of, he was taken when he was like 5 or 6. So this is the equivalent of growing up with, a guy who knows a lot about computers until you're like 5 or 6, and then your entire family getting killed in front of you, and then you get kidnapped and have to live with the Amish or something, and then at the age 17, you're a hacker. Without ever having seen a computer in the interim.
Yeah. Also, the gladiators didn't work like that.
no. But before we talk about the gladiatorial combat,
Why were there gladiators in this fucking film?
Well, there
don't
was,
kill Dorothy.
there
Before
was gladiatorial combat.
I
in
know,
Pompeii.
but it's a disaster film. They were like, okay, we're gonna have to make a movie called Pompeii, but we're gonna just make a B-grade shitty gladiator thing that makes Spartacus Blood and Sand look well
Pretty
thought out.
much.
before we talk about the gladiators, I really
Then,
want
there's a volcano, isn't there?
want to talk about the swords. The swords,
They were made of paper.
they were obviously made of either MDF or paper. They were the shittiest looking props I've ever seen. Now, this Roman general pulls out this. It's the handle looks like a gladius, but the blade is 3 inches wider than a gladius is ever recorded to be. It's not leaf bladed, and it's notched the whole way up, and it's obviously not made of iron. What the fuck? Now, a gladius was an 18-inch sword. Now, it's called the standard equipment of the Roman army, but it
really
wasn't.
It was a Spanish sword,
There was
wasn't it?
no standardized armament outside of Rome.
It was based on several swords around the place, but it was leaf
Actually, the
bladed.
glacius is actually Spanish.
Yeah, I thought it was
Yeah.
Spanish.
Yeah, it was
originally.
originally Spanish.
The handle wasn't, but
Their armies were basically made up of mercenary crews or people they enslaved.
the
so
Romans would basically they'd march into a country, kill the rebels and be like, you all can join. You can keep your current weaponry and armor and shit, and call yourself a Roman legion, and continue conquering that way.
No.
Or we'll murder
What
you
they
all.
would do is they would send people who are like local to one area to a different area to
Yeah.
fight there, so they couldn't be trained and then give the locals that knowledge. That's why you would end up with like people from the Middle East in say Gaul, and you'd end up with Spanish people
Yeah, but
in
that was the thing. It's like,
Scotland.
Right, we've killed the rebels. You lot can either join our army and invade that way, and continue this campaign for us. We'll mix you up a bit, but we're not going to provide every one of you with a standardized uniform. You've got swords and armor that's pretty efficient there. Go.
The general though the general being a full-on Roman,
He would have had
he
the
would have had a
standardized
standardized thing.
and his legion. There was always a core legion with that equipment.
But they had gladius handles with blades everywhere between 6 inches and around 20 to 30 inches
It's like
long.
they tried to make a Roman tanto.
Yeah, and the blade's this wide. It's a thrusting weapon, and they were slicing with it, and I know a lot about weapons, okay? And these weapons really pissed me off. Now, one of the most accurate things was they kept blocking blade on blade, which is stupid. Stop watching Highlander and taking your swordplay from it. One bad thing about Highlander, the only bad thing about Highlander. But at one point it is quite accurate because the sword shatters because of that. That would happen. Don't block blade on blade. But yeah, the swords were so fucking wrong.
I'm fake.
And they looked like they were made out of hardboard. They looked like props that I would make with the videos I used to make with my brother back whenever I was like 12.
Do you know, whenever they were Atticus and Jon Snow were sparring, they were using the wooden swords. It looks like they just used those but painted them.
Yeah.
So Jon Snow was apparently from North Britannia, which could be Pictland, or it could be England, or Robyn even suggested it could mean France. Whichever. And for some reason doesn't look Celtic in the slightest. Although actually he looked a little bit Pictish, because the Pictish had looked a bit more Mediterranean than the Celts.
They had the high cheekbones, he had the broad nose, he had the curly black hair.
But then he ends up in Londinium, which I'm fairly sure, even though they're saying they actually state it's the capital of Britannia,
Oh,
I'm fairly
yeah.
sure that was Colchester.
At the time, yeah.
And then he ends up in Rome, where immediately he falls in love with like this Roman dignitary type lord guy.
I think he was supposed to be the mayor of Pompeii.
I loved how their first interaction was him snapping the neck of a horse.
Yeah, with his bare hands.
Apparently that's romantic in Rome.
This is how you turn on, Roman noble girls.
But they
You
weren't
snap
Roman.
the neck of her fucking horse.
So he falls in love
With
with
your
this,
hands.
falls in love with this girl who's like, he had the strength to do that, and her black slave said, "Oh, but did you see his muscles?" She's like, "That's not what I meant." But basically, how she was reacting to him the entire film, like, oh.
I want you to
Pretty much,
snap
yeah.
more horses' necks
She
for me.
ogled more than the people who were paying to feel up the slaves. And I'm talking about an old Roman woman paying to feel up Atticus's firm buttocks.
There were a number of black actors in this film, and they were every single one of them was giving either a slave or a servitude role.
Yeah.
Now, I understand American sensibilities, but not accurate. The Romans had slaves. Some of the slaves may have been of African descent or had darker skin.
If they were
but-
rebels, but if they acclimatized to the Roman ideal, they could raise to quite a high standing.
Yeah.
Yes, there were
thing.
black Roman nobility, there were black slaves and everything, but they should have had, they're more likely to have, just because of the amount of the areas that the Romans conquered, more likely the slaves would have been white.
Yes, a
Yes.
lot more likely. But it annoyed me that every black actor in this was in a servile role.
And one of them was from Trinidad. Apparently the Romans conquered Trinidad at some point. Okay,
Gladiators.
Oh, let's talk about the gladiators. How all of them were either skinny or overly muscle bound. Gladiators were fat,
yeah.
so they could take more cuts and bleed more and last
And
longer.
apparently they didn't realize that the point of the gladiator things was a show, and it didn't really matter if the person
Yeah.
died or not. And the ideal was to keep the gladiator alive so that you could fight again.
If you don't understand how gladiators worked in Rome,
It's wrestling.
it's basically professional wrestling. It was fixed matches. It was a good show. The reason gladiators were usually kind of pudgy, but very, very heavy and good at what they were doing, it was basically, you can take a couple of light cuts to the stomach. It's all telegraphed. It's all, look, I've cut him. He's bleeding. The crowd goes wild. Fucking flying frats.
Also, they were pampered. These guys were rock stars. They were not slaves
Well,
in chains.
they were still slaves.
They were technically slaves, but they weren't in chains.
They
and
weren't
stone
chained up and
beds.
thrown in cells.
They were
Well, they had their own
basically
cells, but they were
pampered.
different. It wasn't quite like that, but it was definitely.
There were gladiators who lived a richer lifestyle than some of the nobles.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, a gladiatorial match could pull in basically an income for the person organizing it, and the bookies, and everything.
Modern day boxing
You have the
or UFC.
okay. The Atticus is this sort of Trinidadian, gladiator who's got one fight until retirement. And then,
I just realized that.
Oh
Jesus.
God!
and then they bring in Jon Snow to fight him because they're like, okay, he's gonna have one last match, and we want him to die because apparently killing off the guy who's got one last match will bring in more money in future bouts than letting him live because he's only got one match in him regardless.
Yeah, he's one match away. If he wins his last match, he's earned his freedom and he's granted the wooden sword and all
Yeah,
that.
but then they're like, we gotta kill him because
He's black.
Because we're evil.
If we give him his freedom, he can't bring in more money in the future. We're gonna do I assume they're gonna do an elaborate Weekend at Bernie's type thing for his next match. Atticus the zombie.
No, because then he'll get the rights to the royalties of his merchandising.
No. It was also pretty common for a gladiator who's earned their freedom to come
To keep fighting.
yeah, to go away for a year and enjoy the free life, get some bitches and hoes, and
And then need money.
buy a nice house, need money, and be like, I'm gonna do a return tour.
Freelance.
Yeah, pretty much.
If you're a celebrity, yeah.
Jon Snow's fight, you first see him in Londinium or whatever they called. He's the worst gladiator ever because he finishes the fight that fucking
He
quick.
finishes the fight in 20 seconds and kills 3 other gladiators.
It's less than 20 seconds. Somehow he manages to get a guy through armor while throwing a sword. Through the fucking armor.
It's possible the armor was bronze.
It's very unlikely though. Because it goes straight, digs right up to the hilt into the guy's rib cage. Through armor from across the fucking arena.
You think that's inaccurate? Fucking Atticus threw
Battle axe.
an incredibly inaccurately sized battle axe. Sorry.
At least
Another-
Atticus is portrayed as a giant, giant guy made of muscles, while Jon Snow is like, hello, I'm a bit like Orlando Bloom.
Yes, he was
Yeah.
fighting like Orlando Bloom in Troy, but
How about the Spartan?
Atticus-
His bicep was bigger than Jon's head.
Which one was the Spartan? Was that Khal Drogo?
Yes, that was
Yes,
Khal
that
Drogo.
was Khal.
He literally had Khal tattooed on his chest.
Who was his brother who he was pissed off at Jon Snow for
Oh,
killing?
one of the
guy
3 guys in the
bro-
arena.
The golden
One
bronze
of the
helmet.
3. Okay, we don't even establish that. It's like we just have to assume it was one of the 3 at the start. Okay.
But
Yeah.
no, Atticus
Well,
has a
considering
battle
it's,
axe with a head about this wide. Now I know Romans did use battle axes. It was a common weapon back then. It was considered barbaric, but a battle axe would have a blade about that wide, and it wouldn't be this thick. It would be like paper thin. Battle axes were very effective light weapons that you could wave about with one hand like mad. Not
Yeah, they weren't maces.
this was like. It was like something you see in a World of Warcraft. I'm sorry to diss that game, but their weapon design is stupid.
Oh yeah, it is. It really is. This coming from a World of Warcraft fan, some of the armor and swords I would have would be like, what the fuck is this?
It was like if I attached Nicola's arm to a stick.
It wouldn't be a very effective weapon, Darna.
So they have this sort of fight, and then Kiefer Sutherland killed Jon Snow's family when he was a small boy, and 17 years later, he hasn't aged a day, and he is there, Michael Sheening it up. Michael Sheen from Twilighting it up, because he realized that, Kiefer Sutherland, this is the worst casting for a period movie since John Wayne as Genghis Khan, so he's just like, I have no idea what I'm going to do, I'm just going to be silly. So he's just like, hello, I'm Kiefer Sutherland, I'm evil! I'm going to marry and rape you. Ha!
So the girl that Jon Snow fell in love with as well as Invincible. She got hit by 3 separate fireballs and a building
Yeah.
collapsed on her.
And a chariot crash.
And a chariot
And a
crash.
chariot crash.
And the chariot,
Without an airbag.
the chariot got completely disintegrated, and she's just like, I'm here, stand up. But yeah, the chariot as well. It had a 4-horse team, but they were in broad pattern. They were 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, I'm not denying that they existed. It's possible, but if you're in the streets of Pompeii, you would have had
Those
1, 2,
thin
3,
streets.
4, or 1-horse chariot. They were as fast.
Yeah, they're going three.
It was a
thin
show
streets.
carrot stolen from the Colosseum.
Yeah, it's still too wide to go through the streets.
It's
Yeah.
very rare to have 4 horses in a straight line pulling a chariot.
And Apparently, did you know that Pompeii is not part of the Roman Empire?
Yes. Oh,
Pompeii, being the miles and miles and miles of possibly one day's walk from Rome, hates those fucking Romans because the Romans are a bunch of bastards, and even though, because they absolutely hate that, Roman shit like agriculture and
gladiators
and slaves
and togas
and villas and wine and being in modern day Italy and literally being a stone's fucking throw from it.
And being a citizen of the Roman Empire.
I'm pretty sure you can see
Not
Rome
the
from
People's Front, but the People's Front of Judea.
I'm pretty sure you can see Rome from Pompeii, and they're all like, "We're totally different from the Romans. I'm a citizen of Pompeii." It's like, apparently the Pompeians have their own, like, some sort of off-screen ancient terrorist group who want independence from fucking Rome.
I'm totally different from Northern Ireland. I'm a citizen of Glengormley, the suburb just outside Belfast.
The IPA?
It's literally saying, someone who's in a suburb of Washington, D.C. saying they're not an American.
I'm from Washington.
I'm sorry. I'm not an American. I'm from Wheaton, just outside of Washington, D.C., which you can drive to it if the traffic's clear, which it never is, in about 20 minutes.
I'm not a citizen of the USA. I'm from Brooklyn.
I'm not from New York. I'm from Manhattan.
What kind of Brooklyn accent was that?
A Northern Irish one.
This is just...
So,
and the girl's dad is the same guy from The Quiet Ones, so we expect him to be smoking the entire time and to be assuming that she's possessed by some sort of creature inside her, so we can pull it out.
and then try to fuck her.
It.
But the girl's mom dies whenever a stadium collapses. Spoilers, by the way, but you don't care at this point.
Keanu Reeves wasn't there to save Carrie-Anne Moss.
And she just fucks shit up with her. She gets 2 dying wishes. He's like, husband,
Kill him.
kill that bastard of a general. And he's like, I'll try. And the general just like, nope, ha, you're dead now.
Oh, Michael Sheen!
And then she's like, Jon Snow finds her, help me. And she's like, I have a dying wish. Rescue my daughter who's in a villa a couple of miles towards Vesuvius. And it just actually shows us the villa being destroyed from a far shot. And it just cuts back to his face and he's like, nope. But then he goes anyway and rescues her.
I honestly think the guy behind us was starting to get pissed off. We stopped taking
That's okay,
this...
he was the bastard from the queue.
Yeah. We stopped taking this film
Good,
seriously
then.
about
Good.
10 minutes in. He was
10
humming...
minutes? 10 minutes?
Yeah.
It took you 10 minutes.
I was singing Hans Zimmer and John Williams
He
tunes
was.
over the soundtrack because it's so derivative. There's bits of Lord of the Rings in there. There's bits of there was the Mon Mothma theme from Star Wars in there.
When the when the end credits came up and I saw the first name, I yelled at the person's name and said, "You should feel bad."
Oh yeah, who was the...
I can't remember.
She thinks it was John Williams.
No, I don't think it was John Williams.
Who was it?
The music guy was no way John Williams.
No, it wasn't. But it was derivative. I can't remember who you said.
I didn't say
We'll
who
have
it
to look
was.
it up.
I don't know. It sounded like John Williams because it's derivative. And okay, this film uses all of the typical bad Roman movie tropes, all of the bad disaster movie tropes, though nowhere near as much as them as it should, and it invents whole new bad tropes.
Let's go through a small list of historical inaccuracies. White statues. A Roman senator wearing green.
Yes! Oh god!
Okay, number 1. You know the whole thing about all of the white statues recovered from Rome? They're white because during the Victorian era, we dug them up and saw them garishly painted and sanded the paint off.
Yeah. They used to be fabulously coloured.
Yes, pink, yellow, blues everywhere.
They were practically a motley.
The Doctore, trainer of the gladiators, basically being a complete cunt who hates the gladiators. Usually he had to be a sort of a fatherly type role to train them. They had to trust him.
He was like a father/butler to them.
Yeah.
But no, the general wearing green. I will Nicola explain why that's bad.
Throughout the Roman times, the colour of your toga, which was only worn by the nobility too, there were far too many people wearing the fucking thing. Your colour was basically your class. Purple, obviously for the Empire, red, such like they were high-powered colours.
Basically, the rarer,
Green,
the harder it was
a
to dye.
Common.
The harder it was to make the dye, the more high up it was.
Yes.
Now, green dye is incredibly easy to make.
Yes.
Purple. The reason purple didn't
Piss
become
and leaves.
Purple did not become a common color in clothing until we'd have discovered its synthetic dyes.
Yeah, purple
Yeah.
dye is incredibly expensive.
He was basically boasting that he was probably a successful tradesman. He should not have been wearing green.
Yeah.
I don't care if it was inlaid with gold.
Another historical inaccuracy. There was nowhere near that much CGI in actual Rome and
Yeah.
Pompeii.
There was no way.
That's obviously why Vulcan was angry.
There's nowhere near that many galleons as boats.
Oh, Greek triremes. They were Greek ships.
Yeah.
Apparently, the only reference we're going to get of either of the Plinies, who were two of the biggest Roman celebrities at the time, who were at Pompeii, is one of them gets a quote at the start.
Yeah. Oh, Jesus
This film is a
Christ.
sea of terrible fucking shit and everything. Is it
Also,
this?
the senator was protected by Praetorians, judging by their armor, who were only there to protect the emperor. They would not have been protecting a senator,
Even if he is the emissary.
even if he is. Yes.
Like, okay, when you're
This-
making a disaster movie, the rule is you spend the first hour humanizing all the people who you're going to kill, so that people watching it hopefully feel bad about them dying.
Not making one of your cast a bastard for the sake of being the
No,
biggest
you
bastard.
have a couple of villainous characters, that's perfectly fine. But with this one, it starts off with the Romans being bastards, because, apparently we have to be reminded of the fact that the Romans were in fact bastards, even though when your heroes and all your victims are going to be fucking Romans. So then they have to make the bizarre choice of having the Pompeians being ultra-nationalist against the Romans, and wanting an independent republic of Pompeii or something.
No, they didn't. They wanted a holiday resort.
No, or something.
They wanted to be the Disney World of ancient
They
empire.
decided they're not Roman, which is a really bizarre choice. It would have been really easy to not have this fucking Jon Snow stuff from the thing, give him no origin thing, and just have a bunch of little vignettes of Romans in different levels of society, including the gladiators if you must, and then kill them all. It's very simple.
But the Roman general that we got, the love interest, what the fuck was her name? Mary Sue, basically...
Indestructible.
Indestructible. What? Did you say tetanus?
Katniss.
Oh, yes. Katniss,
What's that? Who played her?
I don't know.
Katniss came up...
Jennifer Lawrence now.
Katniss came up with the very famous dirt track that leads from Rome to Pompeii.
Yeah.
Great center of the Roman Empire.
Center of the Roman
Tracks for
Empire was a
roads.
dirt track with giant potholes that could break a horse's leg.
If there's anything Rome's famous for, it's its terrible, terrible road maintenance.
Terrible road maintenance going between its center, literal center, and
its
one of
holiday
its
resort.
big holiday resort, which is within a day's travel.
If there are roads in Britain that are still pretty much how the Romans left them and are still usable.
There are sections of Roman roads still usable today. Not in the UK, but in Central in Europe.
No,
There's a stretch of Roman road in the UK that's usable. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
They don't allow vehicles on it anymore.
Near
but
my
you
parents'
can
house,
still
there's
use
a
it.
Roman road that goes. It's protected, but it's used by dog walkers all the time. It goes up through some of the fields.
Why
around
were the
back.
Romans in Northern Ireland?
I don't know, but it's apparently
The Romans
a
were
Roman
not
road.
in Northern Ireland. The
It's
Romans
said
got
to be a
into
Roman road.
the Romans.
They tried.
They did try.
No, they got it. They were in Ireland. They were not in Northern Ireland. They were around Dublin.
Yeah.
Well,
They were not in Northern Ireland. However, there were Celtic roads they discovered which are similar, and just as
there is a road
True.
constructed in a Roman way that goes very straight through the back fields near where my parents live.
If I'm wrong, I'm sorry, but it sounds like someone's trying to say it's Roman Road. But it's
I
just a road.
honestly don't know the history of it. I know it's been there for a very long
You're
time,
right
and we
if it
call it
being
the
in the
Roman road.
south. The Roman Empire started collapsing on itself by the time they actually got to Northern Ireland.
Yeah.
And they were really starting to get pissed off with.
Anyway, back to the
local
story of
people.
this General Cunt. That's his new name now, General Cunt. But
General Michael Sheen, us. Michael Sheen, us.
so Katniss is she comes home from Rome early because she spent a year there. It was her gap year or something. And their parents are like, oh, we didn't expect you until after the festival of drunken nudity in the streets. And she's like, well, I didn't want to miss it, and I had my reasons for coming home
I
early.
hate the Romans. Fucking Rome. I came back to Pompeii and I didn't expect to see the Roman eagle
left for
everywhere.
a
It's not like I'm in
reason.
the same empire.
I left for a reason. And then
That's like trying to escape the Union Jack by going to Brighton.
Also, I love how the daughter of a really powerful governor of a wealthy town is only escorted by an elderly carriage driver
and
Who
the
we never
slaves.
and
See,
her
after-
slave girl.
Who I assume was murdered off screen because he
He
let
let her
her
get out.
escape. So like
Yeah.
the second he got back and he's like, oh, she ran off by herself, and he's like, what?
But
You're my property. I kill you.
she gets back to Pompeii, and her parents are like, oh, you're home early. And then later, General Cunt appears. He's like, the Emperor said he won't invest in you trying to expand Pompeii and being a good mayor and providing clean water to the streets and building a new arena for chariot racing. But I will. By the way, send your daughter, have her washed and brought to my chambers. And she's
Also-
like, I left Rome because you were stalking and harassing me. Go the fuck
Who
away.
knew you would follow me for a day's travel?
And then he's like, I will.
To be fair, it's not quite the same as going to Siberia.
Also, I don't know if this was intended or not, but the replica they have of the stadium they want to build is exactly the same as the one from Ben-Hur.
That's a good film, though. But the general's all like, you're going to marry me. I'm going to make you marry me. You're going to marry me. Then later he's like, at the arena, you're going to marry me or I will lie to the emperor and tell them your parents hate him and they will be hung on the walls. And she's like, if I marry you or the Sith, they'll be my family too. And he's like,
you know, Romans have never been known to kill their own family. Michael
marry me or I'll rape you and kill your family. Is basically his attitude. It's like, kill that man, kill that slave, kill him, kill him!
This is the least accurate Roman movie I've ever seen, and I've seen Caligula 2, The Untold Story.
You know, between films like Gladiator, this one, and games like Rise, I'm starting to think there was probably only about 20 Romans who actually went to Britannia and Europe. Because every time there's a slave who comes back, they always find the guy! It's like, Rome was massive. How did you find this one guy randomly in the street?
That happened in Bone Kickers as well. Remember the guy he was in Britannia and he was like fell in love with Boudica for some reason, and then he invented ancient hand grenades and he went back to Rome and burnt the place down. Although it's not quite the same thing, but it's just as fucking ludicrous.
Okay.
That's like Boudica attacking Rome with elephants.
But
yes, Rise was a shit game.
That was so badass it should have happened. Unfortunately, the UK has many wonderful things, but being native to elephants is not quite it.
Yeah. Now, apparently, she fought her way through Europe and picked up all the armies who were slaughtered by.
See, that's much better history than what we got.
Well, the fact that she was tortured, raped, and killed.
Well, she was raped more than just then. She was raped beforehand too. Yeah. But you know it sounds like Rise improved on reality there, because seeing Boudica destroy the entire of the Roman Empire would be metal as fuck.
She didn't succeed.
Don't compliment Rise.
Damn it!
Really, don't compliment Rise.
I've never played it. I've never seen it. I just seen. But Boudica destroying the Roman Empire would be metal as fuck.
She rides in on a war elephant. We shoot the elephant with a weapon which should not have been in the Empire and also was not semi-automatic, like they're trying to convince you it was. Is a scorpion, but it was like this size. It couldn't have happened at the time.
It's a crossbow.
Yeah, a giant crossbow, but you wouldn't have had the amount of torque to take down an elephant.
Guns barely have the amount of torque to take down an elephant.
Yeah.
But back to the story. There's this competition. It's all like, this will be your last competition, and then General Cunt is like, kill that man. He helped her help a horse. Kill him. Oh, kill him. He looked at the girl that I'm going to force to marry me. Kill him. So they. I
am totally this little small child's rival. Ma ha ha ha. Even though there's no logical reason for this, I just every time I go to a new town, I like to pick on a slave and make them my rival and kill them.
They also kind of ripped off the scene in Gladiator where they were reenacting a battle.
One
reenacting a battle, and then the slaves kind of won.
One scene.
So instead of letting
this specific scene,
instead of letting Attica have his final fight against Jon Snow and win his freedom or have a big final awesome thing, they instead do a show about the general's actual invasion and killing of Jon Snow's family, and they're like, fuck this shit, and Attica chops down a stone tower that they were all chained to.
It wasn't stone, it was paper mache and twigs.
You ever notice that Gladiator also featured the white guy who was sent to the center of the Roman Empire as a gladiator, unjustly, who made friends with a black gladiator who was totally, who had little models of his family, and we're talking about how they died, and then was convinced to join him in fighting it. It's almost as though they watched Gladiator and they went, yeah, that'll do. Anyway, what is that? Gladiator's not quite shit enough.
So.
Stick a volcano in it, we can get explosions.
Everybody, like 30 gladiators who've been
was this somebody watched Gladiator and says, do you know what this needs? Explosions.
Don't invoke Michael Bay. But the gladiators, dressed up as Roman legionaries, are like, haha, we're going to kill you 6 chained up guys. And the 6 chained up guys are like, nope, you're all dead. And then they're like, aha!
That was less realistic gladiatorial combat than we had in Manborg.
Yes, and then
considering that the guys dressed as the Roman legions literally outnumbered them 4-1.
It was also less convincing gladiatorial combat than we saw in Actium Maximus War of the Alien Dinosaurs.
And the chains magically changed size.
Yeah, the chains did. But Jon Snow and Attica kill everybody, and then he gets the staff of the general and is like, fuck Rome, I spit on it, and tries to throw the stick at the general. or senator, whatever he was.
And then the badass bodyguard guy cut it in half.
Yeah.
That would have been so much better if, like, Kiefer Sutherland was just like, "Hello, I'm trying to seduce and rape you, huh?" And then in the background, Jon Snow just sort of snaps the thing and throws it at him because he was ignoring what was going on until Jon Snow yelled at him. Like,
Yeah.
that would have been so much more entertaining if it was just like he's just like, "I don't need to yell at you. I'm just gonna fucking try and kill you."
But my point is, even though there was this whole, we're not Romans, we just live in
Rome, an empire.
But
Very close to Rome.
even if your gladiator, even if you did have that attitude, somebody snapping the staff of Rome, saying that they spit on your empire and trying to murder a diplomatic guest, they're not going to be celebrated by a crowd.
Well, they might be, but they'll be killed anyway.
Yeah, they're going to be killed. Instead, the volcano starts erupting at this point, and he's like, Vulcan declares him the champion. Now he will face my minion in single combat.
Gotta say, as champions go, he's not as good as the champion of Kirkwall. I finished Dragon Age 2 for the second time last night. It's not as good as Dragon Age Origins.
But this is when the volcano starts erupting. Now we know
This
from
movie needed more elves, like with magic, and women getting covered in crazy liquid red lyrium. And,
this movie needed less of everything.
A dwarf with a crossbow who's dressed like a pirate for some reason.
Enchantment.
Enchantment!
But
God damn it, Zara, you've conditioned me. Every time she says that now, I will answer like that.
Vesuvius starts erupting at this point, early afternoon.
It starts erupting about 20 minutes in. It just keeps going.
It just keeps going. Then it starts launching fireballs. The stadium falls apart, even though it's still mostly intact today.
You got the general guy. Okay, I like the general's bodyguard. But simply because he was stoic and loyal to his boss, regardless of right or wrong, he was just going to do what was ordered. And even towards the end, okay, the villain's trying to escape in a fucking chariot during, all the things, all the fireballs and everything, and then the guy's, Kiefer Sutherland's just like, "I'm sorry, there's no room for you on this! Oh, you're gonna die!" And he just chases off, and then the general's just like, "Okay, I'll see you in Rome."
Bear in mind that this happens after they abandon the stadium. Jon Snow goes to a villa a couple of miles away and rescues his girlfriend. The general takes a legion and slaughters citizens in the streets trying to get to the harbour.
And then comes back.
Yeah,
There was no
and
logical reason
Attica
for him
goes
to
and
come back.
climbs a building. Is like, "Don't go to the harbour, leave by the road." And there's a tsunami.
I kept telling you everyone should have gone by the fucking road.
Half of Pompeii is destroyed by fireballs, and then a couple of hours later they go back to the stadium to find
Because
horses.
that's where you can get horses, apparently.
And the general has apparently come back too, simply to find Jon Snow and Attica.
Can I point out that Jon Snow was riding her horse, which, as far as we know, was in the villa as it was engulfed with flames. So he just pulled this horse out of his ass.
So then the bodyguard, he stays to die, which I took as stoically saying, "Okay, I'm gonna die."
It's like, "I'll see you in Rome, there's no room for you on this chariot, bye!" And he's like, "See you in Rome."
Yeah, which I liked. But then, of course, whenever he has single combat with Attica, and then he wins, which is realistic. Seasoned bodyguard to a Roman nobility, one-on-one fighting a gladiator. The Roman soldier's going to kick his fucking ass because the other guy's going to be trying to be showy. The Roman soldier's going to try and kill you. It's like equivalent of a Navy SEAL fighting a professional wrestler.
Or an MMA champion fighting a professional wrestler.
Yeah, it's gonna go, but then Attica's just like, I'm gonna break the sword that you stuck into my chest in half, and then I'm gonna shove it into your throat. And then they had the fucking Roman bodyguard begging.
No, gladiators don't beg.
You've just got to childishly make your villainous character a coward, because cowardice is evil. Therefore, evil people are cowardly. It's like, fuck you.
And then after Vesuvius has been erupting
a Roman bodyguard. A stoic Roman bodyguard who is already fine with the fact that he's going to die and accept that he's not going to fucking beg a gladiator. He's not going to beg a slave. All he would have at that point is his own idea of personal honor. He would not go for that.
No. But then after Vesuvius has been
gladiators are more likely to beg.
Then after Vesuvius...
they got to train. They're trained to sort of implore the crowd to support them so they can survive. Gladiators begging would be a survival thing. The fucking gladiator should have begged.
They were actors.
Yeah.
Yeah. But after Vesuvius has been erupting for about a day, even though we know Pompeii was gone in the first hour of the eruption, the pyroclastic ash cloud comes out, travelling at about 10 miles an hour and easily outrunnable by a horse.
I thought it was going like 300 miles an hour.
It should have been!
Also, it politely pauses enough for them to have a dramatic moment.
Yeah, it stops at the walls because, you know, going into the next county would be terribly illegal. Apparently, it's like an international border or something. Oh wait, they were on Roman territory. They were trying to work out if legally they could enter Rome.
But Atticus like, I see this ash cloud coming. I surmise it will be held forever in a pose. What'll I do? I'll stick my hand up and go, yeah!
I'm dying freeman!
And then it had people's frozen ash, you know the way that the bodies are in Pompeii, but they had some of them standing up.
Yeah.
Fairly sure that people, when they die, regardless of how much ash is around them, they fall over because it takes the ash a long fucking time to become solid enough to hold something up.
Yeah, but there was no Pompeii to freeze. It had been wiped out by a tsunami and balls of fire and explosions.
Because in Pompeii, the roofs on the top floors were usually gone because the
ash collapsed them.
Yeah, they would have fallen over. Oh yeah, they even have the ash bodies. They have, at the very start, they have ash bodies, but they're all made of fucking CGI. Apparently, it's too hard to physically make a prop of the ash bodies. It's also too difficult to have, things like statues be made of.
Yes, they have
stone
CGI fucking
or plaster.
statues.
Oh, yes.
They had the same statue in the same shot, several times. I think about 5 times you saw the same fucking statue of Zeus. It's like someone created a mold of that one until they created it like on a franchise.
They had one of the busts that fell behind the general whenever the earthquake happened. They were CGI because one of them didn't even fall right. It was like whoop 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 whoop.
I wasn't even paying attention to that.
Is it that hard to have a practical effects?
No, it's easier, faster, and cheaper than building statues in CGI. If you don't need an object to be animated, don't CGI it. If you just need a statue, make a mold and cast it in plaster of Paris.
So Kiefer
Don't
Sutherland
you
has a
love how
fight.
he only had 5 sets?
So Kiefer Sutherland has a fight with Jon Snow and gets stabbed in the arm, which, okay, Roman general, unlikely to be a seasoned combat guy unless he's crazy like Crassus or something. While, okay, Gladiator, I can see a Gladiator 30 years his younger taking him out. I can see that. But then he gets stabbed right through the arm and he's screaming. The next time we see him, he's walking out of the ash he's just like, hello, I have won! For some reason, last time we saw us, I was crying my brains out with a sword through my arm, but now I'm perfectly fine. In fact, I'm smirking.
A sword so wide it's wider than my arm through my arm.
And then, of course, Jon Snow appears from nowhere because, apparently...
Being hit in the head with a ball of fire doesn't kill you.
Apparently, Kiefer Sutherland was stabbed through the arm and he lost sight of Jon Snow in the ash and assumed he was dead because, stabbing you obviously means he's dead.
Also, do you love at this stage too when they're having their chariot chase how they somehow managed to miraculously evacuate Pompeii?
Yes, Pompeii.
Yeah.
For the chariot chase, Pompeii, which has been shown to be completely... Everybody's packed in the streets trying to get out of
To
it.
the point where the general actually orders his men to start killing people so they can get through the crowd.
This manages to be less realistic than both Doctor Who stories about Pompeii, including the one without the giant lava monsters.
But
There was one guy too. There's
bored
one scene
guy.
where Atticus climbs up a trellis and there's a guy in the queue. He's got a bundle of clothes under his arm and he's like, oh, there's a queue.
my house has been hit by a giant ball of fire. But
This is fucking typical. This is
Another
what I
thing.
get for not doing my daily shrine visits.
I don't know if you watch these, anyone who's friends with Skitch or Skitch, but you were totally the owner of Jon Snow. I don't know why, but you as Herod in some sort of biblical thing showing Herod as crazy and sort of effeminate.
with a curly beard.
Yeah, but that's you, good work in getting the acting job, Skitch.
Okay, but one of the really inaccurate things that bothered me was it actually showed us it and killed it in its own thing. The handcuff that they used to place her in a chariot showed to be twist, 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 the lock. And then she locks the general to it by just going clump, and it's like, what?
No!
They
That's
showed us it
not
had...
how those
And
work.
apparently this woman, she manages to get a little piece of wood out of the chariot in order to she uses it as a lockpick to open the fucking handcuffs rather than stab Kiefer Sutherland through the neck with it.
Also, the tsunami in the middle.
Oh, the boat cork.
The tsunami, this is the water level, and this is the seawall. It just goes whoop, whoop. Tsunamis don't work like that. You don't get the bottom of the sea dredged up first.
And then the boat got locked into the gate.
Not to that level. It does go out to a
It wouldn't empty the entire port of Pompeii.
And then
Well, actually, it has been reported. A largeable tsunami has actually emptied out harbours. However, the tsunami was going the wrong fucking way. If this had have caused a tsunami, it would have been going towards Sicily and the top of Africa.
So all of the fucking water gets flooded back to Pompeii, but of course,
It stops at the city wall.
because there's a gate there, which is really big, but a boat gets jammed in there like a fucking cork.
Yeah, a boat goes down the thing.
The boat goes up the street. It's a big Greek galleon. Goes up the street. I'm going up the street on the front of a wave that people are managing to outrun the fucking tsunami.
And then there was there's Atticus saving this, woman and her son, and then suddenly he's just like, okay, I've saved you from that danger. I'm going to go off and do stuff. And then Jesus is like, oh, we're so happy. Of course, they're in the middle of Pompeii, so of course, we're not allowed to
They're
cut back to
probably
them as
dead
they
anyway.
die. We're not allowed to see them die, apparently. We're supposed to assume they're okay.
And then it ends on a shot of Jon Snow and what's-her-face doing the most awkward kiss, where
He's
she's
devouring her nose.
and she's mauling
and
his
she's
chin
mauling
like,
his
no.
chin.
And then they get frozen and they're stuck there as the ash sculptures standing.
Okay, we have 1 minute of tape left, so final thoughts.
This is the most reviewable movie we have watched together.
It was hilarious. I laughed incredibly loudly at several points just watching at the comedy of people being blown up by these fucking stinger missiles of fire coming out of Mount Vesuvius.
This is fucking terrible.
Now, you can outrun lava on foot. You cannot outrun an ash cloud on a horse.
It does depend on the viscosity of the lava.
It does, but it's possible.
There has been lava been recorded at going 50 mile an hour.
Yes, but there's also been lava recorded going at 2 miles an hour and people were able to pick up their house and move it, and I love that video.
Yes, or just Iceland, where they just dug a fucking trench and ran across the lava to try and save the port town.
But anyway, final thoughts. Don't watch it!
Don't pay any see this.
Yeah.
See if it's on cable or some shit like that, or pirated if you must see it, but don't go to the cinema to see it. Jesus Christ. Unless you want a really good laugh.
Oh, it's hilarious.
Paul W.S. Anderson should be kept away from cameras.
Yes. I think that'll do us.
Yes. Goodbye!
Bye.